doesn't want to work for Bigfoot?
Be more than human. And welcome back to the channel, all my Dresden fanatics. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write it under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we're going to talk about briefcases. The final short story collection from Jim Butcher in the Dresden Files. And I wasn't even sure I was going to do the short story collection, but once I got into them, I enjoyed it so much. And if you guys are enjoying this, remember that on Sunday, March 26th at 7:30 p.m., we are going to have a live discussion about all the short stories, side jobs, and briefcases. So look forward to that. Can't wait to talk to you guys live and discuss all your theories and which ones were your favorites. But let's jump into briefcases here. I tend to like to kind of pit them against each other a little bit, and it's been so long, so I was like, I wonder which short story collection I'm gonna like more. And what I can say in coming into this, I remember my favorite short story collection being Working for Bigfoot, and it's still my favorite, I think. And maybe that's just because I like Bigfoot. I want to believe, right? So that was probably my favorite, but you can tell that they invested a lot more money. I don't know if you want to say a production cost into this one, because Briefcases has a bunch of different voice actors and actresses in this. But maybe the most well done, or high value, however you want to put it, short story was Zoo Day. Everybody seems to love Zoo Day. How can you not? It's just a great story. But that is the very last one. We start this one off, and we've actually been talking about this on Reddit. Really active Dresden group out there, and it's Fistful of Warlocks, and this is Lucio's story, right? And it's a pretty solid story. It takes place in the mid 1800s, and I've had a lot of people say that my second novel, More Than a Gunslinger, also has a female protagonist, is similar to this. A little bit, not too much, but I loved it. You got to see Lucio, and we got to see her kind of in her almost in her prime, you might say, and we got to see Kemmler a little bit. That was and I love when Dresden can throw real people in there. So we got to meet Wyatt Earp. Of course, Wyatt Earp is in the know, so that was super cool. Got to see some different kind of fighting tactics and a little bit more history. So that was a very cool one. And I'm gonna have to kind of run through these because we don't want to make this a super long video. But I feel like this has a lot more setup than Side Jobs. Side Jobs was, I feel like, more of a just like let's have fun stories, which I really enjoyed. But these seem to tie more in and have more of an opportunity to actually be used, and some of these have been used in later books. But then we have B is for Bigfoot, and this is Dresden's first meeting with River Shoulders. And he asks him to, I think my son's having some trouble in school. Can you go help him? And it turns out that, Bigfoot's son, who he, sired, or whatever you want to call it, with a human, a big 6'4" lady, of course. So this kid is gonna be really big, and he's already big for his age. Is getting bullied at school. Turns out it's some Schwartz elves that were, kind of being like predator prey stuff, and we find out that Bigfoot's son is a lot like Harry Dresden, very nerdy, very good at school, and so Harry kind of bumps up against their watcher bodyguard Svartalf, and instead of confronting him head on, basically just teaches Erwin that you got to stick up for yourself, buddy. I know you don't like violence and stuff, but sometimes it'll actually save the bullies in the end, because it'll teach them that some prey is not able to be taken down and can save their lives in the future. And that's kind of how it ended. And I really liked that aspect of Harry. I always like Harry teaching things, and and Harry having a kind of a soft spot for kids like himself. And then we go into AAA Wizard, which, if I remember this one, this is Harry teaching a bunch of young wizards. And this, again, I like Harry teaching kids, and he teaches them each little section of the 4A's of wizardry, right? And each time he goes to another one, he gives you a little bit more of the story, and it's cool. Like, he breaks down his thought process, and teaches these young up and coming wardens, how to protect themselves and how to go through and kind of diagnose a case. So I really like that one as well. And then we bounce back into I Was a Teenage Bigfoot. And this one is back with Erwin's in a another fancy school. I want to say he was in 8th grade, or maybe he's into high school, just into high school. And he's came down with some illness, and apparently we figure out that Bigfoots don't get sick ever. Even their offspring don't get sick. So it had to be something, and in the end, it was kind of almost life-threatening to his kid, but it was a funny reason it was happening, because the guy was trying to save his hair from balding, and I'm just you can't help but laugh, but also really, dude, you would put kids through that to keep your hair? So it's kind of goofy, but also shows how vain people can be. And then we had Curse of the Billy Goat, which I was waiting for this to come up. I'm like, how can this not have came up when you're a wizard? You're in Chicago. This is your city. And, and Jim even kind of talks about they've kind of been waiting to kind of get to this. And we, find out about another supernatural nation, and how, Harry kind of tracks it down, and you find out the leader, the king of the nation, really likes baseball, and he couldn't get a ticket for some odd reason back in the day, so turned himself into a goat, a perfect goat in his instance, because it was raining, and goats are supposed to be smelly when they rain. So he was a perfect goat in that instance, but got called stinky and kicked out. So that's why the Billy Goat curse ends up. But then it kind of comes into a view of sports in general, where it should be for the love of the game, not for money and all this stuff, and that's kind of gets tweaked into the end of that story. But I really liked it. I like learning about any other type of nation, in the Dresden universe. So that one was really good. And then another big one that a lot of people talk about all the time is Even Hand, which is Johnny Marcone's story, and different voice actor, and we get to see what Marcone can do going up against the Fomor. And then also we get to see the beginnings of his defenses against Dresden, because some of the stuff he uses against the Fomor were, and we find out later on, were made to stop Harry Dresden. So, it's a good, solid story. I mean, I wouldn't put it at the top of my list or anything, but a lot of people like it for the simple fact that we get to view Johnny Marcone, get in his head, get how he thinks, and again, we get to see what he has in store for Dresden if and when they actually go toe to toe. So, and then after that one, we get to one of my favorite stories, and one of the main reasons why working for Bigfoot is my favorite set of stories as a whole, is the last time we see River Shoulders. His son is at the University of Oklahoma playing football, and his girlfriend turns out to be a white court vampire, but she doesn't know, and they're just in love, and everything's going good. And actually, his son has such a strong aura. There's, with the Force people, so strong of an aura that she, just being normal, won't really hurt him. And and her father kind of finds out, and it's like, no, you have to kill him because, well, we know how the White Court operates. First time out, you got to go kill, and he's wondering why that didn't happen. And so then you got a leader of the White Court with a bunch of 20 hired ghouls, and Dresden goes in to save the day, and starts to kind of get the tables turned against him. And here comes River Shoulders, and we get to see just the mass, strength, and power and different abilities of River Shoulders and the Forest people. And I always tell people, like, before you get to Skin Game, before you go on, you gotta read Working for Bigfoot. Yeah, amazing story, an amazing story of father and son and everything, and that kind of, we get to see that later on for Harry. And then another one a lot of people talk about, there's this, like I said, this was I think they made this one a bigger deal than Side Jobs, but you had Bombshell, Molly's story of how she got Schwarzelsheim on her side, and the favors that she got, helping them deal with the Fomor. And this story takes place as she's kind of going around as the Ragged Lady, but it's like her, Justine, and oh my gosh, I forget, it's one of the werewolves. I can't remember her name, but it's the one that's always really, the best looking one, of course. But they, Schwarzelsheim, they love them some beauty, right? And so they were able to sneak in there, and Leah kind of pushed her in there, saying that Thomas was in trouble. But of course, it being Leah, it was a whole different reason. And Molly kind of saves the day, stopping the Fomor from unleashing a chemical weapon. And I thought that was cool, because now we get to know why Molly has all these perks that she does with them, which was awesome. And I just love to see Molly work her different type of magic. And then we go right into Cold Case as Molly the Winter Lady. And this is one that I have never forgotten. It's always been in my head, with Ramirez, and I don't know if this is one of the reasons that Ramirez acts the way he does, probably. But also in this, the old ones from H.P. Lovecraft are real. Like, this has to come back up, right? You can't just say that and then never bring that back up again. So that's gonna get pretty crazy. But the story was great. Her first real time as the Winter Lady and unleashing her power and what happens when she gets sexual. How much damage she can cause. Just a great story and a lot of interesting things that have to come up in the future. And then you have Jury Duty, which is kind of a funny story slash, Harry, Harry has to kind of save a past thug who's, no longer that. It's a bunch of different people. It's the wraiths. It's two sets of wraiths, and then it's Marcone, and it's all mixed together in Harry saving a little girl. Of course, just a great story that has a lot of humor to it. And then you have Day One, and this is Butter's story of like his first mission, first real mission, I guess, as a knight of, but this was probably, I like Butters as much as anybody, but this was probably my least favorite. I found myself just kind of him hauling through it. And again, it's not because I don't like Butters. I mean, I just it wasn't all that interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's because I like Butters in the Batman setting. I like that a little bit better than I like him as the Knight setting. But we love Butters. Poco will never die. And then seemingly a lot of people's favorite, and it's a great story, and that is Zoo Day. Harry taking his daughter out to the zoo for their first real outing, and Mouse is with him, and everybody has a story within this one. Harry helping a kid warlock, his daughter fighting off and helping these kids against what they call creeps, and that's something we've never heard of, and I guess it's just a kid thing, but it's real, apparently, supernatural stuff. And then what I think is the coolest part is we meet Mouse's evil brother. That he has got to come back up. Just we get to be in Mouse's shoes. Mouse is funny just because he's just naturally funny, but he's also badass and a good dog. Mouse is a good dog. And we get to see how they all interact, and I love Mouse talking about Harry and his daughter and how he knows both of them and he knows what they're both trying to say, and it is just a heartwarming story. Also some very cool parts. But let me know in the comments, if you made it this far, you gotta be subscribed, right? That's what Mouse would do. But let me know, what was your favorite. Can't wait to talk to you guys live on Sunday night. Remember that. And also remember, be more than human.